The book I chose for the second book talk is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. This is one of my favorite books, even before it was made into a movie. And of course the book was way better than the movie. Louis Zamperini is the true American hero. I love that the book starts out telling about his childhood and how Louis Zamperini grew into the man that would later become an Olympic athlete and an Army air bomber. Unbroken starts by telling of Louis' childhood, and Louis is a young boy that likes to get into a lot of mischief. Louis is caught stealing, starting fires, and just constantly getting into trouble. An excerpt from the book will let you see how Louis was involved in this mischief. Page 7. To get even with the rail car conductor who wouldn't stop for him, Louis greased the rails. When a teacher made him stand in the corner for spitballing, he deflated her tires with toothpicks. After setting a legitimate Boy Scout state record in friction fire ignition, he broke his record by soaking his tinder in gasoline and mixing it with match heads, causing a small explosion. He stole a neighbor's coffee percolator tube, set up a sniper's nest in a tree, and crammed pepper tree berries into his mouth and spat them through the tube and sent the neighborhood girls running. Soon his older brother Pete steps in and makes sure that the principal of the school knows that Louis craves attention and had never won it in the form of praise. He is not motivated from his brother as from the attention that he receives from the girls. Louis goes on to become a running sensation. On page 17 it reads, "Boy, oh boy, oh boy," read the local paper, "can that guy fly?" Yes, this means a Zamperini guy. Before he knew it, Louis was running for the University of Southern California and then training for the Olympics. Although Louis was busy running race after race and the world was changing and sliding into war, Louis then decided to enlist before he was drafted and chose the Army Air Corps. Louis begins his training and is enjoying the perks of wearing a military uniform by all the attention he's getting from the women that found the flyboy uniform irresistible. Louis, during training, becomes good friends with Russell Phillips, whom Louis refers to as Phil. Phil was one passion, and that is Cecile Perry, known as Cece. Cece and Phil have a wonderful relationship and plan to marry, but keep postponing their marriage due to training. Louis is part of Phil's crew, and they soon find that accidents are common and deadly. The Air Corps did its best to train men teach men how to crash, and they begin to see dying firsthand. Louis, on one mission, just knew that he would be the one to die. Page 119. One terrible, tumbling second passed, then another. An instant before the plane struck the water, Louis's mind throbbed with a single final thought. Nobody's going to live through this. For Louis, there was only jagged, soundless sensations. His body catapulted forward and the plane began to open, something wrapping itself around him. The cold slap of water and then its weight over him. Green Hornet, its nose and left wing hitting first at high speed, stabbed into the ocean and blew apart. As the plane disintegrated around him, Louis felt himself being pulled down deep underwater. Then, abruptly, the downward motion stopped and Louis went flung upward. The force of the plane's plunge had spent itself and the fuselage momentarily buoyed, but the air trapped inside, leapt to the surface. Louis opened his mouth and gasped. The air hissed from the plane and the water rushed up over Louis again. The planer slipped under the sand and sank toward the ocean floor as it yanked downward. Louis tried to orient himself, and the tail was no longer behind him, the wings no longer ahead, and the men who'd been around him were gone. The impact had rammed him into the waist gun mount and wedged high under it, face down with the raft below him. The gun mount pressed against his neck, and countless strands of something were coiled around his body, binding him to the gun mount and the raft. He felt them and thought, spaghetti. It was a snarl of wires in Green Hornet's nervous system. When the tail had broken off, the wires had snapped and whipped around him. He thrashed against them and couldn't get free. He felt frantic to breathe, but couldn't. This is just the beginning of a long journey for Louis. Laura Hillenbrand goes into great detail in Unbroken with the detail of what happens to Louis and the crew that survived the crash. The book also goes into more detail of what will happen to Louis later in life. This is a huge part of Louis' life but is left out of the movie, and this is one of the parts of the book that I feel really show Louis as a whole person, not just his life as an Olympian and bomber.